I'm Nancy Gohring. I'm a senior analyst at 451 Research, where I follow application and infrastructure performance. So if you want to transition your monitoring practice into an observability practice, there's several things that you should think about doing, and I'll touch on 4 of them. So one is you want to make sure that you're collecting the right types of data and that you're able to do so at scale. So very often when people talk about observability, they think about metrics, logs, distributed traces, maybe events. But it's become increasingly clear that these different types of data have different kinds of value when you're trying to figure out what's going on when you have a performance problem. So you're going to want to collect a variety of types of data. And because your environment is probably much more complex and dynamic than a traditional environment, you're going to need to collect a much larger volume of that data. There's more pieces, there's more components of your application. They generate more operations data. So you need to ensure that you have the scale on the back end to collect that larger volume of data. And on a related note, because you have these different kinds of data and at a very high scale, you're probably going to need to employ advanced analytics, which might include machine learning and/or artificial intelligence. You've got this huge volume of data. How do you sort through it? How do you figure out what's important? How do you get intelligence out of that data? You're probably going to need some help from some of these advanced analytics types of tools. You also are going to want to make sure that you have good context about what's happening. And this is particularly important if your application is built using microservices. So you need to understand how neighboring or dependent services might have an impact on the performance of the service that you're responsible for. But context is important actually from a number of different perspectives. Another is in terms of the perspective of your end user. So sometimes performance problems are happening in a cloud-native environment that actually don't impact the end user. And if you have a bunch of incidents happening, it's really important to understand the context of the incident so that you can prioritize your reaction to them. You're probably going to want to fix the customer impacting incidents first. And then finally, I would just encourage you to think about some of the open source software that's gaining popularity in the world of observability and monitoring. So for instance, Prometheus has really grown in popularity recently as people are adopting Kubernetes. Also, open telemetry, there's some good enthusiasm there, and it can be particularly helpful when you're deploying distributed tracing. So these are some of the things that you should think about if you're trying to evolve from a monitoring practice to an observability practice.